Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Laura Sturm.
Welcome to episode 140. Wow, 140 episodes, Josh.
That would be 308 pounds. See, I went the other way this time because that's one of the weight classes.
140 kilos.
Yep. You're welcome.
Nice. Wow. Yeah, because I was really wondering what that was.
I knew.
So what's going on in powerlifting?
So the Georgia Ladies of Iron is this weekend. So there's a lot of meets across the country all running on the same day, ladies only meets. And one of our lifters is competing, April Gadsby. So hoping she has a good meet. I think she's ready for a big one. I just am hoping she doesn't quit pulling on her last deadlift. She knows what that means.
Don't quit. Nice.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. I just love the idea of that meet too. It just makes me happy. Ladies of Iron taking place all over.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It's a fun meet. I went to it last year and it was, obviously I'm not a lady, but I was there. I had a booth set up and there's a lot of really good lifting. So it was cool.
I mean, when I first started, there just wasn't such a thing, right? I mean, we were so outnumbered by men, and to have a women's only meet just wouldn't have been a thing, right? So I think it's awesome that that's a thing now that's happening every year. Super cool.
Well, it's funny. So you say that, but you lifted at a women's nationals before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before it got combined with So there was a women's only meet back then.
No, that's true. That's true. It was only women's nationals, but yes.
Right.
But yeah, we had our own nationals, which was awesome. Gotta say, I think I did it for 2 years before it changed. Oh, the days. So what else is going on with powerlifting?
So the registration opened for the USAPL Truborn Knockout, which is August 12th in Alpharetta, Georgia. It opened on May 1st. And it actually sold out at 60 lifters within 2 hours and 13 minutes. So that meet is full. And the website says there's no wait list, but I saw a poll on Instagram on Monday that asked that they should open a third session. So it's possible they add more lifters to it, but I don't know if they will or not. I also saw that meet is offering a $50 rebate to any equipped lifters that sign up and actually wear gear at the meet. So basically you get $50 of your entry fee back if you sign up as an equipped lifter and wear gear at the meet. So,
but the meet's already full. So do you have to switch your registration?
Well, no, this was listed beforehand. So any equipped lifters that signed up, and there's two, right. I think I saw.
Nice.
So, and I suppose people could still switch at this point because they're already signed up. So if they just switch their division, I'm sure there's still, it's not till August, so there's still time, I think.
Right. I like that idea as a way to get more people doing equipped.
Yeah. And it was, and it was very specific on the entry form. Like you have to lift in the equipped division and wear a squat suit, bench shirt, and deadlift suit.
Right.
Or I guess it didn't specify deadlift suit, just the suit for each lift.
Right.
So, it keeps you from signing up as a raw lifter and lifting raw in the equipped division.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. Could be cool.
Would it change anyone's mind? I wonder. Would anyone go,
So that's what I'm wondering, if the two people signed up, if they're normally equipped lifters or if they're raw lifters that are going to give it a try. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, because a bench shirt's just like a slingshot.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah.
Super
slap it on
easy.
And you can just lift more weight.
Yeah.
So how it is. All right. So we had some top 5 driving songs voting. Round 2 happened this weekend. And I guess we'll talk about that. We were going to talk about who since we're just doing colors, it doesn't mean anything to anybody. Are we going to say who got eliminated?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you have this information because I don't. So
I have it on a spreadsheet ready to look at, but I don't know yet.
all right.
I'm not going to look until after we do it.
All right. Here's the drum roll. We had a face-off between Green and Lavender, and Lavender was eliminated 14-1. Lavender didn't stand much of a chance. Sorry, Lavender.
Yeah, that's a pretty big blowout there.
Yeah. So who got eliminated, Josh?
Lavender is John Lamp. Sorry, John.
Oh, sorry, John. You didn't make it. And the next one was Tan versus Sky Blue. Sky Blue won 9-6. And I can tell you who Tan was because it was me.
Oh, that
Damn
sucks.
you people. Yeah, I got eliminated with clearly the best list, and still got eliminated. But
well, at least you didn't only score one, John.
Yeah, right. I feel much better about that. And then the next one is Peach and Brown, and Peach went down with 2 versus 14 on Brown. So yeah, pretty landslidey there.
So Peach is Cameron Barlow. Sorry, Cam.
Man. So moving forward, Orange gets a bye week, which I know what a bye week is, but I don't know why it's called that. It's kind of weird.
Well, they had a bye week this past week. It basically means that they didn't have to compete. So they automatically go to round 3 because I set it up the wrong way in the first round. So we had to have a bye week somewhere. So last week we just said whoever has the highest vote tally of the winners will get a bye week until week 3. So congratulations, Orange. You win by default. And next week it will be Brown versus Green and Orange versus Sky Blue.
Okay. I'm biting my nails. Not really. I mean, they were a good list, though. It's good competition. I like doing this anonymously. And if you notice, too, like the voting, we had 15 votes, and 16 votes. How the last list got 16, I don't actually know, but
yeah, it was all jacked around last time because people didn't vote for all. But anyway.
But
yeah, I think it's good.
Good. People are maybe voting just on the music, which is how it should be. Although I don't know how my list got eliminated. That'll be okay. All right, so we're going to talk again about powerlifting. So we have a pretty interesting powerlifting situation. So here it is. You're lifting with 2 other lifters. One of them insists that all the plates face in. The other lifter insists that all the plates face out. Every set, they unload the entire bar and reload it their way. Before they do a set, do you say anything or just go with it?
I mean, I'd probably say a lot in this situation. The freaking, like, first of all, they're both wrong technically. So I mean, there's that. But if you're that ridiculous that you're going to unload the entire bar and load it how you want in between sets, and then the other person unloads it and loads it the opposite. Like if first of all, I'm not participating in that. Like they can unload their own damn bar and reload it. I will lift however it is. If the plates are all facing out and it's my set, that's how I'm lifting. If they're all facing in when it's my set, that's how I'm lifting. I don't give a shit about that. It's not that big of a deal.
They weigh the same. Have you actually ever seen this? Please tell me no.
No, I've never seen it, but I've seen it both ways in the gym, but never the situation where 2 people are like essentially arguing back and forth while training together. But I imagine if those people are very convicted that they are correct, or very convinced that they are correct, it could potentially, if they were ever training partners, become a problem.
I'm not even sure if I'd say anything or just sit back and watch them do extra work. That'd be fine.
Yeah, the only time I would say something if it's like making it take way too long between sets. So if there's 3 of us squatting, for example, and it's taking an extra 5 minutes to load and unload the bar each time, that's adding 10 minutes per normal rest time plus, each of them actually lifting. So if that's getting to be a problem, then I'm just like, look, I don't know. I don't know. If there's another rack, I'm probably just leaving and not even training with them and just be like, you guys are stupid. Like, I'm out of here.
Extra.
Yeah. By the way, come spot me now.
Yes. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. So we have our new lifter tip. You can change your third attempt deadlift twice until the bar is called loaded for you. You can increase or decrease as long as it follows the general rules of powerlifting. I think that's a good tip because that's where things get interesting.
Yeah. And I think that's one rule that a lot of people I think don't know. I think everybody knows first of all, not everybody knows you can change your third attempt deadlift twice, but I'd say a lot of the people that do know that are under the impression that you can only go up and you can actually go down as well. And I think what trips people up is, the weight on the bar can never go down is kind of a well understood rule. Like, it always, each round it starts lowest and goes to heaviest. But when we say go down, that means go down from the attempt that was turned in. So you're still going up from your second attempt. You're just going down from the number that you had turned in, but not yet attempted. And the other tricky part is, if you are to go down, you can't go down, below a weight that's already been attempted, because then that violates the rule, the order of competition, right? Bar is always lightest to heaviest. The other really tricky part that you have to be aware of is if you go down to a weight that has already been called loaded for somebody, you can only go down to that weight if you have the higher lot number, because going back to the rules of powerlifting, if two lifters are attempting the same weight, the lower lot number has to go first. So as an example, if I had turned in 200 kilos for my third attempt and Laura, you have 180 on the bar and the bar's loaded for you, and I decide, you know what, I want to lower my third attempt to 180, I can do that if my lot number is higher than yours. But if my lot number is lower than yours, by rule, I would have had to have done 180 before you. And since the bar is already loaded for you, I cannot do that now. So in that situation, the lowest I could go is 182.5.
Right. So the people that are working the table would be sitting there having to also look at lot numbers.
Yeah. And that's one reason why there's a place for the lot number on your scorecard or on your attempt slip. And most people don't use that. And it's probably not really that important during squat and bench, but it is during deadlift because those changes come in quick, and it's a good way to reference, assuming you know what your lot number is and you write the correct number. Right. But that would help the score table if you did have your lot number on there. This is what I think is a simple way to, I guess, keep things, kind of straight at the score table. So when I'm working the score table during third attempt deadlifts, like I always keep in mind what weight is on the bar each attempt. Like in my head, I know what weight's being attempted, and I also know what that person's lot number is. So if somebody submits a change real quick and it's higher than the weight on the bar, I don't have to stop anything, right? There's no stopping the meet. If the attempt is the same or lower, if it's lower, I know it's invalid and I basically just don't do anything. If it's the same, I know the lot number that is lifting in my head. All I got to do is confirm the lot number that was of the lifter that just submitted a change to see if it's a legal change or not. So it kind of keeps everything from being super overwhelming when you're like trying to figure out, what's going on. The trickiest part is if somebody does it right before they call bars loaded. So that's what I like to look at too is, every time they're loading a bar, I'm paying attention to not the weight I'm paying attention to two things: the weight that's being loaded, but also the lifter that had just completed lifting. Because if they're loading 200, for example, and it's just about loaded and somebody turns in 195, that could still be legal if the previous attempt was not above 195 or not a lower lot number than the person that just went. So it's really just, as the bar is being loaded, I'm keeping track of two numbers and two lot numbers in my head. And then once the bar is loaded, I'm only thinking about that one for the next attempts that might come in. It can be a lot, but like if you just try to keep up with it and just like I'm saying it, I'm almost saying it in my head, like the number and the lot number that is allowed. So anything below that is like, it's a red flag that I don't stop the meet. Because what I've seen happen before is I've seen somebody turn in a change and, they do it kind of right before the bar is called loaded, but the score table in a panic hits the, change in progress. And, the referees stop the meet. They make sure the right lifter is up and everything, but that gives extra time to the other coaches to figure out math when the meet should have never been stopped because it actually did not affect the current bar loading or lifter that's being out there. So that's why I like to keep up with it. That way I cannot, cause that's like my own like personal pet peeve is unnecessary stoppage of the meet for those things. I've been in multiple battles and there's two situations where the lifter I was coaching lost because of that very situation. In both cases, the opposing coach turned in an illegal attempt right before the bar was loaded for my lifter. And that should have been it. It should have never stopped the meet. They should have never done nothing. The bar should have been loaded for my lifter. We go out and lift, make it, and then, they can change to something else later. But in both situations, the referees and the score table, they stopped the meet, like started to make the change, realized it was an illegal change. In the meantime, that coach figured out what the correct attempt was, turned in the correct attempt, and then they accepted it because the bar hadn't been called loaded for my lifter yet. So by rule, that was still correct because the bar hadn't been called loaded, but it should have been called loaded because that illegal attempt should not have done anything to the stoppage of the meet. So, man, I'm a little pissed off now thinking about that.
I do remember a certain state meet where somebody had called bars loaded and then somebody was like, wait, change. And the head referee let them make the change instead of saying, well, I'm sorry, I already called bars loaded. Is this the same situation we're talking about?
Yeah, but that's not exactly what happened. So that's the thing. It's up to the score table to determine if the change was in before the bar was called loaded. So like, let's say I put down the change and as soon as I lay it down, the chief referee says bars loaded. The change was in beforehand. So even though he said bars loaded, the score table has to intervene and say, hey, it was in before you called bars loaded. And that's kind of what happened, but it was an illegal change that was turned in when that happened. So that's when they stopped it. And, 30 seconds, 60 seconds later, they realized that was an illegal change. But in the meantime, the correct change was turned in while everybody was trying to figure out what was going on. And that change was accepted. And then, we basically, basically with the lifter pulled for the win and won. So.
Yes. And I believe it also cost Team Roar the state trophy that year.
Yeah, that year, that was the difference in the team title also.
So now I'm getting you really mad.
To say I was a little bit hot that day is an understatement.
And you don't want to see Josh when he's angry. It's a sad thing, kind of.
Yeah, I was. Here's the other thing. That particular meet, I was the meet director as well. So it was a very big conflict of interest for me to intervene as the meet director. So I didn't. Everything I did was from the standpoint of the coach, which is why nothing got done. And why nothing was, why the bar wasn't loaded, because I was in coach mode. And even if I was not coaching and I was there as the meet director, the only thing I really could do is just assist the score table and help them be like, look, this is an illegal change. it's invalid, chief referee, it's on you. And then he could say bars loaded. But instead, the chief referee was waiting until the score table got it sorted out, which in the meantime, the coach figured out what the correct number was or what the correct legal number was. And
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great situation. And so the only thing, like looking back, like that's the hard part, because I also couldn't really advocate as much as I would as just a coach if I wasn't the meet director. Because let's say I did go up to the referee and be like, the bar should have been called loaded, like you guys need to get moving. Okay. And then let's say our team wins and my lifter wins. Well, Josh, the meet director, blah,
right.
blah, blah. So like, that's where you got to really kind of step back and not let, I don't know. I feel like I was less, I don't know how to say this. I was less of an advocate for my lifters and my team as a coach because I was the meet director than if I was just a coach.
That's a good point. Hadn't thought of it that way.
And clearly, as we're talking about this, I still haven't quite got over
that. Josh still needs to go to therapy to talk about this.
Yeah.
Oh,
this is my therapy.
There you go, getting it out on the table. You feel better now? Actually, you don't.
No. I'm like all tense now. I'm like,
how many meets you running nowadays?
0.
Yeah. How many meets do you get to coach athletes at?
I don't know. It's probably still 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there a year.
Yeah. But probably just as many as before you were meet director?
Yeah, I would say just as many, for sure.
Right. But none of that conflict of interest anymore.
Correct.
So, yay.
So there's that.
And other people are clearly running meets in Georgia now.
Yeah.
So, you've passed the baton successfully. We have a new state chair even. And meets are happening pretty often in Georgia and selling out in 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So since we're on the topic, I'm going to gripe about the other situation too, because this one also irked me. Because this one irks me too. And this is like Josh's gripe fest here. But this one irked me because the other lifter was the stronger lifter by far. Like it was clear. But I outcoached this other coach like big time and basically sealed the deal. So the situation was, we had the weaker deadlift and we were ahead after second attempts. So we went to, I want to say like, we took a big jump. We jumped like 15, maybe 17 kilos, and I knew full well that my lifter was not going to be able to pull that. But the other lifter didn't thought that, I don't know if they thought that we were going to make it or they didn't figure out the math. And they went to basically what they needed, assuming we made ours, which was way more than they needed to win. It ended up being like 22 kilos more than they actually needed. And I put that on there assuming that they would do this. And obviously I was going to change if they didn't. But they did. So I'm like, oh, this is good. This is great. So like, we're just going to, when they call bar loaded, like you don't even have to go out there and try if you don't want to, because like, I'm pretty sure I didn't tell them this, but I actually did let the lifter go out because, why not give it a shot? But like, I knew there's pretty much no way they're going to make it, but it didn't even matter because it blocked the other lifter into doing like, it was something like 20 kilos more than they actually needed to win or something like that. Or maybe it was less than that. But anyway, the point was they had to pull way more than they needed. Well, they turned in a change right before they called bars loaded for us, and it was an illegal change. And they literally stopped the meet for like 5 minutes to figure out what the rule was and how to make it right. And eventually they let the lifter make another change. So then they put on a different number that was still more than they needed, but they ended up getting it, but had downward motion and got 2-1 good lift. So that was another thing that really pissed me off. It should have never been a good lift to begin with, but they got it. All I know is the bar should have been called loaded and it should have been game over, even if we didn't make our third deadlift.
But then it wasn't.
And I don't know. The rest of it, I don't remember what happened because I'm clearly like, I was set off at that point. Memory stopped working.
I do remember at I think it was a women's nationals. The person, I think, did I pull before her or after her? I can't remember. I pulled my third. It was 291. I'm sorry, 391. And then she didn't make her last, but for some reason you were telling me to get ready to take a fourth attempt. And I was like, what's happening here? I don't understand, because there was some protest or something. And if they protested it, she lifted before me, but she didn't get it. But they were protesting it. And in the meantime, they loaded the bar for me. I went out there, I made my third, but the protest was still going on. And if that got overturned,
then we would have to change and go up to pull for the win.
Right. Yeah. Right. I would have had to take a fourth deadlift somehow or something.
Right. Because basically your third one, like, well, you would have had the option to keep the third, but that would have not been enough to win. So,
right. So of course I would have.
So yeah, we're not going to, but yeah. And that would have been an interesting situation and decision if it was like a 5-way battle and basically that got you second, but not the win. But if you risk it and go for the win, you could end up in fifth. Like, then that would be kind of a hard decision.
Right.
Like what would I have done there?
Right.
I'll never tell you publicly.
Well, luckily they didn't overturn her lift and I ended up winning.
Yeah. But yeah, that was just one of those things. Like, you know, you're about to go take your suit off and all those things. So I'm like, don't, just stay here and be ready just in case. Like, don't go anywhere.
Right. I remember thinking, okay, cool, I'm done. Yeah. And I was having a kind of emo. I was an emo lifter a lot, actually. And wanting to flee the building and being very glad it was done. And you're like, no, just sit here. You might have to go again. I'm like, no.
Yeah. But you didn't.
That was but I didn't. And that was the one year I actually won open, which was amazing. And I can say I did that. Yay.
Yeah, that was the crazy jump we did too, right? It was like a,
what
was it?
Yeah, it was a huge jump because I think I missed my second because I got off balance or something.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I can't remember. Yeah.
And then we basically YOLO'd on the third and you got
it.
So.
Then I made it anyway.
Okay.
YOLO. Hey, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. That's why you put it on the bar.
That's right. Exactly.
So, yep.
I mean, we could have done less and knew you wouldn't win. I mean, that's no fun.
Yeah, no. What good would that be?
Memories.
Yeah. Memories. Yeah. Oh. Yep. Remember back in the day when doing a battle on the border? Those were fun.
Yeah. That's the only meet. So I was actually talking with Lee about this a couple weeks ago. I lifted at that meet, and that's the only meet that I've ever done that I won best lifter at. And
really,
yeah, Lee also won best lifter there. But yeah, because I did. I
won best lifter there too.
Did you? In 2012?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Masters best.
Doesn't matter.
It counts.
It counts. Yeah, so like back when I was in college, like I was only doing nationals and worlds, and never like I came close to winning best lifter at collegiate nationals. But the one year I had a good chance was 2015. I bombed out, and the guy that won my weight class won best lifter. And which that was going to be a battle. Like he's David Hammers. He's the one that we went back and forth all the time. Like, I beat him at nationals not a lot, but he beat me at worlds every time. So like, I think he actually has like the 3-2 advantage or something like that. I don't know, whatever. So long story short there, like if I would have not bombed out and was able to beat him, like I would have won best lifter, but I didn't. So it doesn't count. The other one was the following year, Collegiate Nationals. I was second best overall, and freaking Uncle Jeremy won best lifter. So,
damn it, Uncle Jeremy.
Yeah, he still lets me know that all the time.
Oh, I'm sure.
Anyway.
Yep. Yeah, I remember the first time. It was my first meet, and you were lifting too, and I was getting coached by Jeff Robeson, I believe, who I'd never met, but that worked out because it was fine. But that was the first time I saw Josh before the meet as Josh the coach, and then Josh during the meet as Josh the lifter. Josh without his glasses on, don't talk to him. It was like Clark Kent moment. Like, you're a very different person when you're lifting. You know this.
Josh the lifter's like an irrational, like
emo, yeah.
Irrational, like crazy person.
Mean and scary.
Yeah, but irrational. Like things just, yeah.
I feel you. Yeah. I always wanted to flee the building, and I think even now when I get any type of thing, stimulus, this like performance, like I have to perform, I have to do this, I get like called back to like the anxiety of lifting. And I was irrational.
And you want to flee the building.
And I want to flee the building.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I remember you actually saying to me one time, you can't actually leave if you really need to. We can just leave. We don't have to do this. And I was like,
well, I was totally going with the reverse psychology there, but the look in your eyes was like it was like you were thinking about it. Oh,
maybe.
Wait a second.
I think I did actually consider it for a moment. And I was like, well, no, that wouldn't be right.
It was clear you considered it. I immediately was like, oh shit, that might not work.
That's funny that you remember that. But I see that time. All right. Well, let's end this thing.
Yeah.
We keep going on with little other side memories.
All right. Well, we will wrap it up there. Don't forget, voting on round 3 for the top 5 driving songs list will happen this weekend on Instagram at PL Ballads Podcast. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, shoot us an email at plballadspodcast@gmail.com. And until next week, we'll catch you later.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.